Yes, very good evening to you all. So we warmly welcome everyone for this particular, actually very new edition of Talk of the Month on behalf of Colombo School of Business Management. And especially this is a very new edition of Talk of the Month, which will be designed on innovative knowledge to offer from industry professionals. So today, Talk of the Month in entrepreneurial management session will be give you an idea of what we have planned for you. And for your development, and our guest speaker will explain why we should be conversant in the entrepreneurial management principles and practices of managing entrepreneurial resources. If we are to achieve sustainable goals, which is of significant value in this modern management domain under the challenging context through innovative decision making for sustainability and overcoming emerging economic crisis. So, just to give a brief about us, about the business school, and business school established 6 years ago. Our business school goes as CSBM established 6 years ago, was a result of successful integration between the academic sector and the corporate sector of Sri Lanka. The school was the brainchild of leader in the academic spearhead of Professor Bandara and giant in corporate world. Maybe you heard about Mr. Diane Gomez. It was their vision to build leaders that can successfully maneuver and navigate the corporate world and achieve success. They believe that this can be achieved through a powerful learning, and this is what we constantly strive for, to provide quality learning and diverse exposure to the Sri Lankan population that will help them succeed in the business world. We are not in the business of issuing piece of paper. We are the business of helping Sri Lanka continuously improve. We engage those who have succeeded in the corporate world to create platforms for our students to interact and learn. So therefore, we focus heavily on our resource personals, the tools that will help shape Sri Lanka's future into a better way of achieving your enhancement of success. A few examples are some of the popular that have contributed to our program, included kind of such as Professor W. Lakshman, Dr. Lalpirutha, Mr. Vegapitia, General Ratnagar, Dr. Ajit Kolonde, Senior DIG Adi Rona, Maharaja, the Bharati Santos, and also Kumar Sangar. Those are the resources that closely work with us. And all these individuals who gave gone to the top of the domain. So we work with these individuals and design customized programs that are current and relevant to our market. This is why we are still linking with foreign universities. We do not believe in one program fit for us. Instead of one program that cater to our country, our market, and our needs at the time. So our affiliations, KIT University India, Cumbria University UK, and Pearson UK, which UK allowed us to customize our program to create programs on domain of business management. So we hope that this journey that you are about to embark on will give you the opportunity to enhance your knowledge and sharpen your skills as well. We offer a wide range of programs in corporate training as well, public sector development, which include mini MBA, science of HR, non-HR professionals, and also international trade management as well, and business management, sports science, fitness, mental health, psychology, like that. So many areas start from certificate which goes up to diploma and advanced diploma as a top-up degree, and also executive education as well. Okay, and if you are interested and would like to find out more information, please feel free to speak to our friendly staff as well. So we wish you all the very best in all your future endeavors and hope you will continue to make CSB your knowledge hub in future as well. So therefore, and in regards to our talk of the month, which is going to launch very shortly, so I would like to just touch upon our resource person's profile as well. So we invite a well-known Dr. Nayana Dehigama, who is holding PGDM, Sri Lanka MBA, Sri Lanka as well, DBA, AIT Thailand, and SCIM UK as well. So I take this opportunity to just to update his profile as well. Let me permission obtained from all participants. Dr. Nayana Dehigama is a founder and executive chairman of Epic Technology Group, an internationally operated Sri Lankan company renowned for its technology and digital transformation. and solution with the proven track record of 23 years, lots of experience, skills, and many things that you all can obtain this evening for next 100 minutes. The company has played a significant role as a technology solution provider in the banking, finance, telecom, and e-government sector as well. After achieving major success in Sri Lanka, Dr. Nayana's company commenced operation in overseas as well, such as Malaysia, Singapore, Japan, and many other countries as well. The company has developed some of the finest digitalization solutions in countries such as NTB Freebie, the first digital bank in Sri Lanka as well. NDB News, DFCC Virtual Wallet Smart Pay by BOC, and DLB Sheep Digital Lottery Platform, the first digital lottery platform in Southeast Asia. And Hello Viru, South Asian first comprehensive digital economic center online platform, to name a few. His company has collected over 100 national and international employees in past 10 years. Great achievement as well. Our wishes for Dr. as well for his great achievement. EPIC won the National Business Excellence Award in ICT sector for the 3 consecutive years from 2008 to 2010. EPIC also was just the overall best software company in Sri Lanka for many years, like 4 times at the National Best Quality Software Award. EPIC twice won the Gold Award for Sri Lanka at the Asia Pacific ICT Award. EPIC TAP in 2008 and 2019 as well. And Dr. Nayana hold a doctorate degree from the School of Management of Asian Institute of Technology, AIT Thailand, having acquired professional qualification in electronics, telecommunication engineering. He also obtained a postgraduate diploma in marketing management and MBA from Institute of Management, University of Sri Lanka, University of Sri Java. He also a fellow member of Chartered Management Institute, United Kingdom. And Nayana was the Sri Lanka's Entrepreneur Platinum Award winner in 2012 and most coveted Asian Pacific Young Entrepreneur Award winner in 2010, organized by the Confederation of Asia Pacific Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And Dr. Nayana is a sought after public speaker in entrepreneurship, strategic management, business innovation, career guidance, motivation, and business management as well, and how to manage current turbulent situation as well. He has delivered many oration prominent nations and international forums and conferences. And Dr. Nayana is a past chairman of Chamber of Young Sri Lankan Entrepreneurs, the very popular poet, and ex-board director of Sri Lanka Insurance Corporation, and also company Nitrogas Lanka Limited. He also currently serves in 2 technical committees of the National Science Foundation and the faculty board member, and a visiting lecturer of Faculty of Business University of Merdtua. So it's my pleasure to warmly invite Dr. Nayana Dehigama, who has been invited as a guest speaker to deliver talk of the month of July, which is going to deliver from Colombo School of Business and Management. And over to you, Doctor.
Thank you very much. I don't know whether you, you can be, you can hear me, because I heard a lot of disturbances while you speak little while ago. So I don't know whether my voice is clear. Can you confirm whether I'm clear?
Very clear, Doctor. It's very much audible.
All right. So thank you very much, because and also I want to apologize. There is a little bit of a technical difficulty in running the slides in my computer due to some security restrictions, and therefore I have sorted Pabudu's assistance. Thank you, Pabudu, for agreeing to assist me. So therefore it may be, you know, little hiccups here and there in running the slides, but let's try to manage it. But anyway, I will try my best to make the presentation meaningful as well as interesting to you. So today we are going to discuss mainly about how the innovative thinking, innovations and entrepreneurship will help to overcome the current or if not survive in this turbulent situation globally. It's not only in Sri Lanka, but even globally, it's a global scenario as of today. And how an organization or a corporate can sustain and even achieve growth amidst all these hostilities that we experience in the market. So how entrepreneurship, how innovativeness help, as well as we're going to I'm basically going to take you through some of the points as to what you should be doing, or what corporate should be doing in order to sustain, in order to basically survive in a situation like this. What are the key success factors for organizations to be aware of and be concerned of? This is what I'm going to talk today. So we agree, everyone basically talk about today's situation as a crisis. They label it as a crisis. So it is important to understand what this crisis mean, right? So as far as I'm concerned, even though crisis is an uncontrollable state, or which is unfavorable state to any business, any entrepreneur, right? But actually, crisis also is another state of the market, because if you look at market, different times market behave in a different way. So crisis also is another state of the market with different parameters in place. Of course, the parameters are turbulent, parameters are changing quite fast. So the dynamic. So, however, it is another state of the market. So therefore, like you perform in any other market. So now, being entrepreneurs, being entrepreneurial organization, have to understand that, okay, fine, now we have now got a different state of the market with different parameters, and how we can actually navigate our organizations in this market situation. So this is what we have to be worried about. And also, the good news is that even we brand it, label it as a crisis market, there are plenty of opportunities present in a market like this too, right? Because opportunities are not only available in good, palatable, stable markets. No, even in crisis markets, there are plenty of opportunities. I will give you an example, quoting Sri Lanka. And if you look at from 2001 to 2009, where the country went through a very difficult time due to political unrest, because we had 3 times the government change. Then we had in 2000, if I'm not mistaken, 2005, 2006 time frame, we had the Asian economic crisis, and then 2007 we had the global economic meltdown, and all above all of that, we also had the intensified civil war going in the country. Of course, there were bombing in Colombo and many other places, and then there was so much of disturbances. And I mean, it's another state of the market. But remember, even during that time, there were many entrepreneurial organizations have actually grown, achieved growth tremendously, substantially. I did my a little bit of research on that one, and then I found that there are certain companies, a majority of the companies, have grown better or higher than during that time. I mean, 2001 to 2010, during that decade of turbulence, they have grown better than in any other times, in the sense. So this is the actual scenario. So which means the companies can still grow, still sustain, still thrive in a market like that. So let's look at some of the dynamics of new normal or hostile. Now we can call this one a hostile situation. So what are the new dynamics that we can see, right? So obviously the hyperinflation, right? I mean, you can see that even a few minutes back, I got a other than a news alert saying that our the transport inflation has gone up by 146% or something like that, and that the food inflation is about 46%, right? So this inflation is not only in Sri Lanka. This inflation happens all over the world, in USA, the Europe, and even I was basically we engaged in Malaysia, Indonesia, right? If you look at every place, the inflation has actually hit the economy badly. So inflation is something that that has become a global situation. So hyperinflation, where uncontrollable amount of or unprecedented amount of inflation increase has been basically is happening today. Let's look at the next photo. Yeah. Then global merchandise, right, in this turbulence situation has disturbed at a greater extent, right? Disruptions to the supply chain, right? Even though if you want to basically run your organization, sometimes supplies cannot be basically sourced because of the disruption of the supply chain. Now, there are many reasons for that. One is the after effects of the pandemic, where the entire global economy was basically hit badly. Then we have other global situations like the Ukraine-Russia war, right? And then the supply of raw materials, the pure raw materials have been basically reduced to industries, right? That is why the paper industry is basically really suffering, because the cotton and other raw materials that are required to produce paper and various other products have been basically disturbed. So there is a great scarcity. Not only that one, even the transportation channels have been disturbed. So you cannot transport. Now, even we are currently facing a situation like that for a particular product that we supply as a company to Sri Lanka. It's a national product which all of you use, but unfortunately we have to source certain raw materials from Europe and then transport them back to Indonesia to turn out the product and then bring it to Sri Lanka. But unfortunately, I cannot source these materials as we could do previously. So now we experience certain delays which are beyond our control, because the disruptions have been happened in the supply chain. Then drastic capital flow reversal, which is the one of the main reasons as to why even Sri Lanka is in this dire straits today. The capital flow reversal, which means the inflow of dollars, inflow of foreign exchange have been basically reversed, right? So I mean, even if you look at Sri Lanka, the foreign exchange channels like tourism, foreign remittances coming from foreign employees, then foreign direct investments, right, have been basically largely hampered. So we don't get foreign exchange coming in at preferable rates. So what happens because of that is, right now there are inability. Now we are unable to pay our debts in dollars because there are no dollars or the foreign exchange in our country. The country cannot basically source essential items like fuel to medicine to food and various other essentials. So these are the bad dynamics of the current hostile economy. Then even we can actually even predict some of the banks to collapse, in the sense, because of the continuous moratoriums that have been basically forced on them. And then of course the creditors and borrowers, where they have actually given heavy loans, heavy funding to large organizations, right? And then they will not be able to basically pay back, right? So then those things can actually hit the bank's cash flows very badly, and then there can be we can actually expect some of the banks even to collapse in Sri Lanka. Then continuous customer demand shift, where the customer demand has been shifting from one corner to another corner, so that the adaptation of resources to support that shift it has become a challenge to many organizations, right? Because they cannot continue with their traditional way of continuing their business, right? Then agile and stringent fiscal policies by the government. We are now facing this one in Sri Lanka, because there have been many restrictions that has been basically brought by the policy restrictions have been brought by the government. Import controls, and then various other tax increments, and then various other statutory payments. right? All these things have been basically is coming. So stringent fiscal policies by the government is another thing. Then the stringent regulations and the government regulations and the government intervention, right, can actually affect negatively, further negatively on our economy, right? It can promote inequality, where only one category or the privileged group of people can actually can be served, but a certain segment of the society or the citizens may be basically deprived of certain facilities and benefits in the government. Then discrimination and exclusion, exclusion in trade. There are certain trade practices will not be basically able to carry it out. Another example now, just imagine, because of the restriction of importation of vehicles, what has actually happened to the businesses that were in that business, the vehicle importation and distribution business. So, they cannot run their businesses because now those businesses will basically exclude from the trade in our country, right? Then commuting versus communication, right? I mean, of course, this is another dynamic that we can see. Then you can see that people tend to commute. People tend to avoid commuting, going from one place to another place. Instead, they will try to communicate. They will try to use their other communication channels and start doing their businesses online most of the time, right? Instead of basically transport. As an example, now just imagine in my company, now we have about 350 engineers working for us, but now we have adopted work from home policy for our organization. So people don't come to office, and we, due to the market situation, now we have decided to close down our company for 3 days a week. So we operate only on Monday and Tuesday. So anyone who wants to come to office and carry out their work, right, they can come. Anyone can come to office on Mondays and Tuesday, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, no one has access. And so they can actually carry out their work from home. So these are different decisions that we have taken into in order to basically curb the current situation. Right. Then can we yes, okay, let's look at what are the changing elements of this next normal. What are the things that we can actually see? Now you can see that there are new risks, or I would say the risk factor has been basically increasing in the market, the risks. Then also there are threats that have been basically posed to our businesses, our corporates, right? Then the challenges, there are challenges. Now let me give you a little bit of a description of what these risks mean. Actually, the difference between risk and a threat or a challenge is risk is something, if you will say a challenge that you face or a obstacle that you face, and if you cannot overcome, or if you fail, then that failure will take you out of business. So which means it is a risk. As an example, we'll say your company invest 10 million rupees to start a new venture, but you fail, and in, we'll say 6 months, you close down that business and you lose that 10 million rupees, right? But so long as that 10 million rupees loss can be absorbed to the company easily, or even with difficulty, can absorb and then continue with your business, then actually that is not a risk, but you have taken a challenge to try out a new business. But in the event where if that loss of 10 million rupees will take you out of your business completely, right? Or you cannot actually then sustain in the industry, right? That is a risk. Why? Because that can actually take you out of business, right? So risk is generally defined like that, because if you fail, or if you basically cannot avoid that risk, or face that risk successfully, then it can actually take you out of the business. But threat is something which is it is outside, where if you don't realize what it is, and then it can cause damages. Probably a threat can be converted to be a risk too, but you can predict and you can actually adopt certain strategies to face a risk successfully. Challenges are things that we basically face day to day, the obstacles that we come, and then you come out with strategies. And then what challenges can do is basically it can slow down your operation. It can basically sometimes cause some damage, basically losses. That is true, but it can slow down your efficiency, slow down your speed. It can bring your profitability down, right? Those things can be basically happen, right? But the other element, the most important elements, is that there are new trends and opportunities are available in the market. There are trends and opportunities also available in the market. So these are the new elements that have been basically changing in the current hostile market situation. There are new risks that is basically posing, where it can actually take you out of business. There are threats you have to be aware of, so that you adopt different strategies to overcome those threats or avoid those threats. And there are challenges you got to face day by day, because the markets are turbulent, parameters are turbulent, markets have become dynamic, right? But amidst all these things, there are changing trends, changing or growing opportunities in the market too. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. Risks. Let's look at what are the risks that we can actually talk about. Right. The first risk that we can talk about is hamper the opportunity exploitation, revenue generation, profitability, cash flow, and growth. This is a great risk, right? Why I say that this is a great risk is that for any organization today, if you want to survive or if you want to grow, there are three very important factors that every entrepreneur should pay attention to. First, the revenue, right? You got to make sure at whatever the cost, or whatever you have to put, whatever the effort necessary to make sure that you maintain a healthy revenue for the organization, right? So that is the first challenge that an entrepreneur has. Not only the revenue, right? It is not enough for you to have revenue. With the revenue, you must make sure that you have reasonable profitability within that time, because it's no point of having only revenue if there is no profitability in that revenue. So profitability also is very, very important. So revenue and profitability is not only are the only factors. So you got to make sure that you maintain a positive cash flow, the positive cash flow for your organization. Because if you can have revenue, you can have profitability, but if you don't have positive cash flow, which means the inflow of cash to facilitate your day-to-day expenses, operational cost, right? Again, then you are going to basically have another difficult time. So it is very important for any the entrepreneurs to make sure that you maintain, or you ensure that your revenue is maintained at a reasonable or the favorable level, and then within that one you have a reasonable sufficient profitability, and then you make sure that your cash flow is positive, because if you don't have positive cash flow, then that will basically give you a big issue, because you will go and find a business, but you will not have enough cash coming in to facilitate and exploit those business opportunities, right? Then your company have to go through debts unnecessary, and that debt burden will be basically there. So that can basically give you a lot of negative effects for your organization. Right. So then the other one is enterprises will compel to eat the own capital, which is another the negative factor, right? It's another factor. If you don't have the sufficient profitability, sufficient revenues coming in, what will happen is, and also sufficient cash flow coming in, what will happen is the organization will be compelled to eat their own capital. And after a couple of months or maybe around a year, then you will find that you have no more capital to sustain. And then you can actually, the entire business can take out of the market. So it is a risk. Then financial exhaustion due to over leveraging and unrealistic borrowings, right? So which is another factor. So because you have you don't maintain revenue, because there is no profitability, because there is no cash flow, as I first earlier said, the company will have to go for borrowing, and then the borrowings will be basically exhausted one point time, and then you will not be able to basically service those debts that you have actually already. So your time will be spent more on finding ways to service the debts or service your borrowings, right? Not to do your business, not to be not to basically spend your time for creativity, go for innovations, right? So you will not have time for that one. So that can actually take your business out of the market. Then intense and unethical company. This is a very, very important factor which we do not talk much, right? Intense and unethical competition. One side, the competition will be intensified, right? So more competitors, because now our markets are shrinking, the opportunities are basically reducing. So many people will fight for the restricted opportunities in the available in the market. Because of that one, because of that pressure, right? The organization, the people can go to different extents to basically win the market opportunities unethically. Probably they can sort the bribery and corrupt. They will move into bribery and corruption. They can go for unethical or the unwarranted political influence, right? And maybe various other ways to somehow win the market opportunities, the restricted market opportunities available in the market, right? So competition will be unethical. So it's going to be very, very harmful to every organization and every market in the country because of these market dynamics. Then inability to maintain core and distinct competencies. Your key employees can actually migrate. Now, as an example, I will give you a very example that we are basically facing. Over the past maybe 6 to 8 months, I have lost about 57 employees of the the real key employees, that the engineers that we had. But unfortunately, we could recruit only about 12 for the time being. And we are going behind looking for engineers to basically replace, but we cannot replace. Why? Because all of them have migrated the country. So the brain drain, right? So it's very high. Your employee turnover is going, increasing tremendously. So which is a huge cost. Because employee leaving organization is not easy, because you got to hire again, and there is a hiring cost. Then you got to again train that employee, which is a cost. So then you are, during that time, actually you cannot use that employee to your production, so which is another cost. So it's a very, very costly affair. If your turnover, if you don't manage your turnover properly, it's going to be a very costly affair. But this market situation, the turbulence, is going to basically pose threats or risks in those lines too. Okay, let's go to the next. Okay. Then look at what are the threats available, right? So first is the business disruption and obsolescence, right? Certain businesses will be obsolete, right? And we can see that when people are basically moving into online, online merchandise, online procurement, online, everything. Sometimes the brick and mortar shops will not be basically will be obsolete one time, right? So business of obsolescence and disruption will happen. Then this disappearance of traditional market opportunities. The traditional markets will disappear. Traditional markets, right? The next one, yes. Okay. Then inability to operate normally. You cannot operate normally. I mean, I don't have to explain it, but you cannot run your businesses today in your normal way, right? I mean, that is why I said that I have closed my company 3 days a week. So we are operating only 2 days on a week, and then all other days, of course, you have to work from home. So those are not normal, the standard practices, right? So we cannot operate normally. Then closed markets and nationalism, right? Your markets will be closed. Why? Because we cannot go for open markets because import restrictions are there. The market is saying you cannot actually transport your goods from one place to another place, right? And then nationalism. So it is actually, even though we feel that it is a very positive thing, right? When it's come to the global scenario, nationalism is a very dangerous and very negative thing. Right. And as an example, now, if you think that, okay, fine, we will buy only Sri Lankan products, right? And then if you promote that nationalism within our country, right? Just imagine if another company says that in that case, we will not send you the goods that you want, because, fine, if you don't buy our products, right? If you don't encourage your people to buy products sent by the foreign the countries, right? Then fine, we will also not send you our products to you, right? So that can actually harm our economy a hell of a lot. So the nationalism is a very dangerous thing when it's come to business, when it's come to the business market. So that's another that you are basically seeing. Then reduce market liquidity, the liquidity. I mean, even if you go and ask for a loan from the bank, sometimes you may not be able to get it, right? Because there is no liquid. And even in Sri Lanka, liquidity in terms of foreign exchange as well as local currencies, there is a scarcity, right? Even the banks are suffering because there is not sufficient liquidity in banks to fund industries, right? Right. Then possibilities of imposing higher taxes. Of course, we are facing that already, right? Already there are a lot of taxes have come. Then inability to forecast the future and inability to rely on long-term planning and strategy, which is because we as entrepreneurs, we are trained to rely on short-term and long-term planning both, especially long-term planning. What we say is, fine, you have to have a dream, right? Dream can be your 10 years plan. Okay, so this is how the entrepreneurs are being basically trained. Your mindset is basically set. But because of the today's market turbulence, right, we do not know what will happen tomorrow, right? So how can we rely on long-term planning? We cannot have long-term planning as of now. So all will basically come down to short-term planning, right? So you have to look at the market, and then you have to have a little bit of scenario planning. Okay, what will happen next month due to these reasons? And then we act today looking at this one. Even though we have long-term planning, sometimes those plans will not materialize due to the turbulence that we have. Then inability to restructure due to stringent labor laws. Now we have even look at Sri Lanka, right? I mean, there are what I have noted is that there are about 30 or 40 different treaties that basically govern the labor, the handling of labor in Sri Lanka. And every labor law that has been basically brought is investor unfriendly, entrepreneur unfriendly, right? So this is what is happening, right? So those things even can basically come into effect, especially when the markets are turbulent, when the markets are in crisis. So those are the negative effects that we are going to, the threats that we are going to basically face, right? So having discussed about all negative things, right, I would like to actually tell you what are the positive things that we can talk about today, right? Okay, so in a crisis market, especially, I just want to tell you that this is not a crisis only in Sri Lanka. This is a global crisis, and whether it is USA, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, or Asian countries like Southeast Asia or whatever, right? You go to Malaysia, you go to Indonesia, you go to Bangladesh, everywhere the crisis is happening. Pakistan is next to Sri Lanka, and everywhere, right? But in the new normal, in the crisis, of course, there are positive things. First, the promotion or acceleration of innovations, right? You can see how many new innovative products have been basically introduced in Sri Lanka over the past 6 months to maybe 1 year, because of the crisis, because of the market turbulence, because of the issues that we are basically facing, right? The e-bikes to I think yesterday I saw they have actually come out with an e-cars, the electric car by Ideal Motors or something like that, right? There are various products have been basically introduced, the food items, right? So there are so many innovations have been basically introduced in the market, so which is a good sign, which is a very, very good sign. Then fast and developing the market attitudes and trends towards strengthening local economies, right? All this time we were basically enjoying the global economy, and we were basically talking about the seamless trading, seamless business, right? Going beyond boundaries, and we were talking about global village. But today, because of these restrictions that we basically face, the transportation issues, then any other inflation issues and all these things, now we are focusing on our local economies. Now it is a time for us to develop our local economies. This is the time for us to even look at our agriculture base, right, which something that we have neglected throughout over the probably 50 years, right? Now I'm very, very vociferous on that subject. In fact, and of course, in certain public forums, I was criticizing our agriculture sector, not only the agriculture sector, of course, agriculture administration of the government. What have they done to the agriculture sector over the past 50 years, right? I mean, to me, it is next to nothing, right? Because very, very simple thing that just imagine, right? If the no sooner you hear the word Govia or the farmer, the kind of the picture that comes to your mind, right? Just think to yourself, right? As you hear the word Govia, right? What kind of a picture that comes to your mind, right? A very poor, shabbily dressed guy, right? Maybe carrying a mamati, right? With a sumbare on his head, right? With all mud all over, right? A very poor, shabbily dressed person, right? But should that be the real situation if all this government administration spending billions of rupees every year to develop agriculture? So is that the final outcome that we can see, right? So which means we are doing something wrong, right? We are doing something wrong. So I could not find any agriculture entrepreneurs or agro entrepreneurs have been basically involved in our agriculture sector. This is one of the key things. So anyway, those things can be discussed later. Then opportunities, promotion of import substitution policies by the government. When there are restrictions to import, when we have no the way to or no foreign exchange to import things, automatically, of course, the government will basically promote import substitution policies. So that's a good thing, right? That's anyway a good thing, because so that you can save foreign exchange, as well as you can actually develop local industries, because then you will get better markets for the local industrialists within their territories. Then possibility of generating new market trends, like, as I told you earlier, buying local, which is not good things, but the trends are there, right? Buying local things, right? Developing, bringing the communities together to carry out in small industries, right? There are new things have been basically, then the people are basically changing their lifestyles for good, right? They have reduced, I would say, even at my own place, we have actually reduced wastage, maybe at least by 50% to 60% in the sense, right? Because now we are not going to waste any food, any items at home. Earlier, it was not the case. I mean, everyone was very lavishly spending, they are basically, wasting a lot of things, a lot of resources, right? But today you cannot do that, right? Now the behavior, the people are cycling now, you can see that now it's not a good thing, but anyway, right? You can see that, some people are going to work using a bicycle, right? They're pedaling a bicycle and then going there. So see how the behavioral and lifestyle changes that is basically happening. Then the foster upskilling and reskilling. This situation will force you to upskill your people for the very reason that brain drain, and you are losing your competencies, the core competencies, right? It is inevitable for organizations to go for upskilling and reskilling, right? Sometimes develop people with multiple talents, multiple skills, so that they can actually be employed in multidisciplinary jobs, right? Which are good, very, very good things. Then upward trends towards automation, use technology, right? You can see how the automation have been basically adopted by every company, right? For online marketing, and where they then work from home. Now, even to adopt work from home, you got to adopt technology. Without that one, you can't do that. So technology will facilitate those changes while reducing the cost, reducing your, increasing your efficiencies, right? All these things will basically happen. Okay. Then trends of digital transformation, digital platforms, social networking. Now look at what has happened to our fuel distribution, right? The country has forced, right, have been basically compelled to adopt technology for the fuel distribution. But in some other countries, including Iran, being a petroleum country, right, they also have this fuel card, right? You cannot just go and pump fuel in those countries. You got to have fuel card, some countries, not all countries, right? So fuel card is a must. So you must have a fuel card to go and pump. You can pump any amount of petrol, but you got to basically give that card, so that that is basically collection of data for the management. Then they know what is the kind of consumption, distribution, right? So they can actually plan it out. So fuel cards. So here now we are basically bringing in technology into the petrol sheds and getting people adopted to this digital thing. So we're talking about all the issues that we face due to crisis markets, turbulence, and all these situations. What are the remedies that we have to overcome? How do we come out? Which is the most important thing? How are we going to survive? Right. Let me just give you few salient points how an organization, how a corporate, or a nation for that matter, overcome this kind of market situations. Right. The first, innovations and entrepreneurship, two key factors that is inevitable and mandatory if you want to survive in a crisis market like this. You got to bring in innovations. You got to think innovatively. You got to bring innovative leadership, new things, new adaptation, new differentiation is a must. right? In order to do that one, you've got to have entrepreneurship. You've got to develop entrepreneurship. I will tell you what do I mean by entrepreneurship, in what do I mean by innovations. So innovations and entrepreneurship is necessary to inculcate, adopt in every sector in this country or globally, right? Globally, especially in the agriculture sector. I mentioned agriculture because agriculture is sector is a neglected area sector, and we need to bring entrepreneurship into agriculture sector. We need to bring innovations into agriculture sector. We need to bring technology to agriculture sector for that sector to survive. And without surviving agriculture sector, I don't think that this country can actually survive anymore. So this is one thing. So what is innovation? So it's very important to understand what do you mean by innovation too, right? So innovation is not only something that you a product that you come out with, or you design, or technology that you basically introduce. Those are also innovation you can consider. But if you look at what those innovations means, right? What does it do, right? Innovations means basically you change something. Adopting innovation means you change something. Why do you want to change? To make it better. To make it better, right? So generally, innovation is you adopting change for continuous improvement. That is called innovation, right? So it could be product, it could be process, it could be business, it could be any other thing, right? Even at the lowest level of your operation, maybe sweeping the floor, it could be, but you can adopt innovation and you can do it better. Why do we introduce innovation? To make things better, right? And you need benefits, because you don't innovate or you don't introduce anything as an innovation which will make your life worse. You bring innovations, you adopt innovation because you want to make it better. So which means you're doing something differently, which means you basically adopt change to make things better for continuous improvement. So this is innovations. So therefore, innovations can be adopted in every place in your organization. It's not only in your products, right? From the time you enter your company, right, to deliver your products and services to your final customer, entire process, every step, you can bring innovation. You must bring innovation. You must bring innovation every step, right? So then having discussed about innovation, then let's look at what is entrepreneurship, right? What is entrepreneurship, right? Now we talk about entrepreneurship. Most of the people think that entrepreneurship is all about running businesses. No. Entrepreneur is a person who runs a business, but entrepreneur and entrepreneurship are kind of two different things, right? But to be an entrepreneur, yes, you need entrepreneurship. Without having entrepreneurship or inculcating entrepreneurship, you cannot be an entrepreneur. But entrepreneurship is necessary not only for entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship is necessary for each and every person in this world, right? Each and every person in your organization, right? Even at home, entrepreneurship is necessary. So entrepreneurship is basically your ability to introduce innovations. Now, first I said innovations is adopting change for continuous improvement, right? So entrepreneurship is your ability, your passion, your liking, your love to introduce those changes, new things, new innovations in response to perceived opportunities or goals. In response to perceived opportunities and goals. In your organization, you perceive certain opportunities in the market. Now, how you go about and exploit that for your own benefit? How do you do it? You change. You bring changes, you adopt changes to improve. Why do you want to do that one? Because you want to differentiate. Otherwise, you cannot win competitive advantage. There are competitors fighting for the same opportunity, same market, right? You got to do something differently to win competitive advantage. So then what do? you bring innovation. Why? In response to perceived, to explore your perceived opportunities and goals. So this is entrepreneurship, your ability to introduce innovations in response to perceived opportunities and goals. Right. So why entrepreneurship is necessary for organizations? Right. Why? Let's look at why. In the world, there are two states that an organization functions. Two states. One, growing state or dying state. Unfortunately, whether you like it or not, there is no intermediate state that we can talk about. There are no company can sustain at the same place. It's like riding a bicycle. If you want to stay, you go to ride, you go to move, you go to go forward, right? Otherwise, you can stay on the bicycle. It's something like that. So even for organization, either you have to grow, or if you don't grow, you basically die, right? Nothing in between. You cannot have a stagnant state and survive. Why? It's a very obvious reason. Why? Because the cost of operation is going up day by day, right? You have to provide salary increments, special facilities, your communication cost is going up, your transport cost is going up, right? You got to expand your business. So you got to have growth, which means in terms of revenue, profitability, cash flows, and everything. So if you don't grow, what happens is you will not be able to explore your new opportunities, not being able to basically pay for your overheads, right? You will start dying. So either you grow or you die. So the most important factor here is the growth. The growth. So how do you basically make sure this growth is sustained or maintained in your organization? The only way that you can actually grow is bringing innovations. Bringing innovation is the only way that you can bring in growth or sustain growth in an organization. You bring innovation. The innovation will basically facilitate to grow. So it will propel growth. When you grow, that will basically give you profitability, right? Profitability can be basically reinvest into your innovations. And again, this will basically continually run. But remember, in order to, I call this the virtuous cycle of survival, right? In order to propel this cycle, you got to have another two factors, right? Another two factors. One, strategy, right? What is your strategy to run your organization, right? The strategy is very important. So you got to have proper strategy to propel these three factors. Then the most important ingredient or a fuel to propel this one is entrepreneurship, your ability, your liking, your passion to bring change, right? If you don't change, which means you adopt your ability, your passion to change, you will not basically bring innovation. So if there is no innovation, there is no growth. If there is no growth, there is no profitability. This is how the things will basically go. So innovations and growth are the most important things for any organization survival, especially in a situation like this, right? So how innovations help organizations to survive and grow? Let's look at some of the things it will basically give you, the benefits that will basically give you, right? It will promote adaptability, because you innovate means you are changing to what, right? Changing for betterment, better or improved profitability. So you adapt to the situation in order, because you are change means you are adapting, right? You are changing means you are adapting. So it will promote for you to adapt to situation, right? Let's look at the next one. Yes. Then discover new business models. When you adopt innovations, it will basically, you will discover new business model, because right, These are new things that the models that we have to basically introduce, right? Instead of we'll say business model is how we are going to basically sell your products and services to the customers, right? Or how we are going to basically source your raw materials and other things for your production, right? There are different business models, right? So you will discover new business models through innovation. Then evolve diversification option that will basically facilitate you to diversify. Diversification will give you competitive advantage. Then it will foster scale, enlarge, expand your volumes, right? Because if you bring in innovations, maybe a product, if you adopt a new product innovation, then you are actually creating a new market for that one. Either you, if not, you are basically expanding your market because of the diversification. So it's basically facilitate scale. You can actually scale up your operation. Then can I click? Okay. Then adopt technology for improved efficiencies and extend reach. You can adopt new technologies. Now, as an example, adapting online sales, right? Which means you are basically adapting technology, or marketing your products through digital media, social media, right? Using digital marketing tools, adapting technology. Then it will basically also give you opportunity to reskill and upskill human resources, right? Now, this situation will force you to bring innovations. Innovations means change. Change means you are looking for improvements, which means now you are basically forced to do your reskill and upskill of your human resources, right? New things, new learnings, adopting new knowledge, or creating new knowledge. But because in entrepreneurship, we talk about knowledge, because knowledge is very important. There are three ways you can actually get knowledge. One, you can assimilate knowledge, right? You can actually go to someone and then or maybe do a course or read a book, and you can assimilate knowledge, right? You can transfer knowledge. You can actually go and buy knowledge and get adopted to your this one, or you can actually get another technology partner to share their knowledge. Also, you can create knowledge. How do you create knowledge? Through research and development, right? You can create knowledge, new knowledge, right? Which means research and development is not only to do research within a lab. No, when you do anything, you can actually, it can be a research, right? You basically pay attention to that one with mindedness, right? So then understand, okay, are there any better way that I can do this job, which is a research, right? So you create new knowledge through that one. So assimilation, then you can transfer knowledge, right? Then you can actually create knowledge. Not only that one, you can actually even disseminate knowledge to your stakeholders, because whatever the knowledge that you create, you can disseminate. You have to disseminate, otherwise you can't actually run your business. So then optimize resource utilization. You optimize your resources because of the current the market crisis, right? You got to optimize your resources. Then facilitate cost containment. Cost, everyone is now talking about, because the inflation is killing or hitting the market, right? So therefore people are now worried about the cost, how to manage cost. So you come out with new things, new innovations to reduce your cost, reduce your wastage. You adopt certain technology or processes to minimize wastage, minimize cost. So which are good things. Okay, so those are some other factors. So coming back to the remedies for survival and growth. Second one, first thing we talk about innovations and entrepreneurship, then introduction of policies to foster and propel economic growth, right? So new policies. But only thing is, I have actually mentioned here, you must make sure that those policies do not block or be an obstacle to sustainable economic growth. You got to facilitate, because what happens is most of the time the governments, they bring policies that will basically obstruct or slow down the economic growth, slow down the industries, it will not really facilitate, but it will basically be a stumbling block to this one. So those are the things that we have to be very careful of. Next, then improve perception and credibility of the government, which is very important, right? That is why we cannot actually even go and look for some bridging funding for our. This is all about perception of our country, right, or the government, not about our inability or anything. It's about the perception, right? They think that this country is in a mess. It's all about perception. So how you got to basically even for a corporate is like that, right? Your credibility, your perception have to be basically the others' perception about your company. What kind of a company are you? How credible are you? Is very, very important. Then redeployment of resources, upskilling, reskilling, right? Especially in the government sectors. Now, we are talking about the national level remedies, right? Let's go to the next one, right? I think we have to hurry up. For the corporate level, right? First, we discussed about innovations and entrepreneurship. You got to promote. Then innovative leadership have to be there. Think differently, right? Not to follow the same traditional way of doing things, but come out with new thinking. Do something differently so that you can win competitive advantage, right? Business innovations, which means the customer experience, how to offer your products, how to get your customer to use your products and services differently. We call it customer experience. How do they experience your product, right? So business innovation is that. So product innovation, process innovation, and most important thing is business innovation. How do you basically offer customer experience? Then pay attention to revenue, profitability, and positive cash flow. I explained that one earlier. Then look for and quickly exploit opportunities in the crisis. Use your creativity. Use your creativity. Look outside the window. Be a good entrepreneur. All good entrepreneurs are not inward looking. They look through the window outside. Look at the market. What are the opportunities available in this crisis time? Because there are plenty of opportunities. I just imagine how many companies are now importing bicycles to Sri Lanka, right? And they're selling bicycles. I think most of the bicycles are 100,000 rupees now. I'm sure obviously the cost of a bicycle should be in the global market maybe about 30,000 rupees, 40,000 rupees, but they're bringing it, selling it around 100,000, 150,000 rupees, probably at a very the premium profit, right? Opportunities, exploiting the opportunities, right? So there is an opportunity for someone who wants to basically do research and come out with for biofuel, because we have the scarcity of fuel now. So if someone can think about that one, because earlier the creating biofuel or manufacturing biofuel was not economical, because we had subsidized rate for our diesel, but now it is not that. We are paying about 400 rupees or 400 rupees plus, right? So probably going into biofuel production may be now justifiable financially, right? Then focus on okay, can you come back to the slide, please? Yes. Yeah, okay. Then focus on product market diversification where necessary. Diversify using differentiation, right? Then find a differentiator where you can win competitive advantage. Very, very important. Let's go to the next slide. Yes. Then operate your company within financial comfort zone. Very, very important. Operate within the financial comfort zone. Do not overexhaust. I always advise to my company and all other companies, even though moratoriums are given by the banks, right? Do not get caught to those traps, right? Remember, those moratoriums do not come free. You got to pay interest on interest, and later you will basically be burdened with huge financial risks, right? So Remember that part. So operate within financial, look at what you can spend, right? Try to basically minimize your, cut down your frills. Try to operate within your financial comfort zone. Very, very important at this kind of a crisis time. Then be agile and resilient. Agile means, you know, ability to take a side step, and then go forward, right? If something is not working, take a side step using the same resources, right? Same resources, same strengths, same core competencies that you have. Find a slightly different trajectory and go ahead and proceed further, right? Move quickly, adapt fast to situation. Then opt for equity instead of debt. As I told you earlier, even the moratoriums are offered, right? Think twice before you go, right? Try to adopt equity instead of debt, because debt can basically it can be a risk. It can basically take your company down. Then reduce credit offering if possible. Reduce credit offerings. Go for cash. Cash is king at this time. Liquid is king, right? So maintain a good liquid position as much as possible. I know it's difficult, but if you think strategically, there are ways you can actually make sure that you can maintain a good liquid position, right? Reduce. I mean, come to the financial comfort zone, right? And then operate within that. Make sure that your the cash flow is positive, and then we maintain good liquidity position, right? Then cut off frills. In order to do that, and you go to cut off frills, right? So stick to basics as of now until the markets are basically become normal. Okay, then credibility is everything. Credibility, right? Never lose your credibility of the organization, right? Never use the credit, even your personal credibility is very, very important, because you have got very minimum opportunities in the market, and then there are a lot of companies are fighting for the same thing, and then customers are always try to understand whom can I trust to obtain services. So which is very, very important. So credibility is everything for organizations. That's one of the key success factors. I basically call it strategic success factors. Credibility is number one strategic success factor, right? Then leverage on digital tools and technology as much as possible, right? It may necessary some investments up front, but that will basically pay you back quite soon, right? Social media, cloud computing, RPS, and robotic process automation, right? RPA means robotic process automation. So various ways you can actually adopt technology, right? Then reskilling, upskilling, we were talking about it. Very, very necessary, right? Try to see whether you can actually get your people reskill or upskill so that they can actually be multidisciplinary workers, right? Probably to use the same employee for maybe 2 or 3 different, right? So it will basically hamper a little bit of specialization, because we learn about specialization in economics, right? In management, but it may not. But still, given the current situation, you may it may basically give you good return if you can actually train your employees to be multidisciplinary. Be creative. Creativity is enough. If you don't be creative, you cannot actually understand what are the opportunities in the markets. If you be creative, then you can actually quickly pick niche opportunities in the crisis market and exploit as fast as you can. So go for niche opportunities in the market by using your creativity. Creativity will basically play a big role here. They need the right organizational structures, where restructure if necessary. Restructure is necessary. Sometimes you can if you really study about your structure, you can actually find out various ways you can restructure so that you can actually bring down your even operational cost, bring down your overheads, make your organization more efficient, right? So you can actually go to market and then capture opportunity fast. That is one. Then finally, do not go head on with crisis, because crisis is something that you cannot control. right? You cannot go head on into a crisis, right? So understand that. That is why agility is necessary, right? You got to avoid the crisis instead of going into the crisis. So don't go into the crisis, avoid the crisis, and try to be agile, take a side step, find a new trajectory, take the organization towards that, right? Instead of going into the crisis and get or trapped within that crisis. So do not go head on with the crisis. Okay, next. So probably this may be my last slide, and learnings from the next normal of the current situation, right? I think we learned, especially during the COVID time, 2000 to 2002, we learned that uncertainty is the only certainty in the world, right? Everything is uncertain. I mean, we had very beautiful 5-year plans, 10-year plans, you know, all this one, but nothing worked. Nothing worked, right? So now we realize that, okay, fine. We cannot take anything for certainty, right? The uncertainty is only certainty. Then scientific forecasting and predictions have very little value under today's global market condition, right? Long-term planning is necessary for us to understand what is the direction that we should go. I always say, if you target to go to moon, you can at least go to a top of a coconut tree, right? So anyway, you are above the floor, above the ground, so it's better. Okay, you target to moon and you will not be able to go to moon, but stay, at least you can actually climb a coconut tree. Okay, so good. So anyway, you are above the ground. So 5 years, 10 years planning, long-term planning is necessary. Do it. I'm saying not to do it. Do it, but do not rely heavily on that one. Remember the first one. That plan also may be uncertain, right? We may not, but we have a direction. Let's go on that direction. Okay, but always expect the unexpected. Expect that this plan have to be changed due to different scenarios in the market. That is why the scenario planning is very, very important in today's world and today's business. Scenario planning, which is a upcoming new management concept, where the management come together every month or maybe once in every 2 weeks, and then discuss about possible scenarios and then understand what strategies that you should be adopted if that particular scenario come into effect. So scenario planning is a new management technique that is being basically taught in most of the universities now, right? Then short term, medium term, over long term thinking, planning, right? Have solid short term plans. You have to work while having long-term plans, right? You have the long-term, but have solid. This is what I'm going to do today, and this is what I'm going to do, what we are going to do this month. This is what we are going to do within the next 6 months. Have a solid plan. Without plan, you can actually go. Have that plan. Then materialistic wealth, we all must die to acquire, cannot probably bring true value to us, right? So think beyond that, right? And we got to sustain together. I don't think that today's world, it's very few companies can actually sustain alone as silo, right? So cooperation, come together, right? And probably you can actually focus on different specialization, but come together, work together, and then we can thrive together. So this is another learning that we have. Then agility, adaptability, preparedness, and credibility are the most important critical success factor for today's organization, right? Something that you cannot forget about. You have to be agile. You must be adapted. The adaptability have to be there. You must be prepared to face crisis situation or different scenarios. And then credibility. Never lose the credibility. Then cash flow is the oxygen, right? if you don't have cash flow today, if you don't have your cash flow, if you don't get your cash flow positive, right, and then your death also is quite inevitable. So cash flow is like your oxygen. So think about that one. So I think I discussed some, I presented some of the points that I have learned about this situation, and how I believe organizations can thrive in a situation like this. And I would like to take up maybe another 15 minutes to take up any questions to answer.
Yes, that's correct, Doctor. Thank you so much. It was so awesome presentation on this particular area. So we covered a lot of depth as well. It's going to be very wisdom as well. Yes, our participants, is a good opportunity. Of course, you can ask any questions, any concerns based on last I think 80 minutes of doctor's presentation. So we encourage you to get involved. This is a great opportunity for you as well to get more clarity from doctor. I have unmute your mic so you can ask questions. Chatura, do you have any concerns? Chatura? And Dal? And Mr. Kamal Guruvardhana, so we encourage you all to get involved and ask questions. I hope that you can unmute your mic, unmute your mic and ask because this is a part of our talk of the month concept. So where we are doing similar discussion every month. So this is a great opportunity. So basically, this is all about the empowerment of decision making. That's what we learned from Doctor for last 80 minutes, right? Empower decision making in an innovative way to manage any challenge in the market condition, maybe corporate sector, startup, entrepreneurial, like many areas. So, Dayal, would you like to ask any questions? Hello.
Any different you have to the points that I made? Any different ideas where I can learn something from you? Is there any other factor that I have not discussed or which I not put it correctly? Is there anything?
Of course, yes. So I believe actually, Doctor, that's fantastic. Basically, Doctor, now we have gone through your presentation quite innovative and pleasing, a lot of insight as well. So how would you rate? Basically, I do understand there are many challenges in the sense as person, basically like most important thing I have experienced with my experience as well, empowerment of making innovative decisions. When it comes to making decisions, like the way of innovation, way of
Sorry,
thinking.
your question is not.
Doctor, I'm just asking, like, as a person who work for corporate sector or entrepreneur startup or whatever job that we do, how important is innovative decision making? So, and also how we can develop.
Okay, it's like this now. The word innovation is something that we cannot avoid for every corner from here to, I mean, as I first said, any organization, innovation should be basically adopted in every step, that or the every operational step of the organization, right? So innovative thinking and innovative leadership both are extremely important the aspects, because without innovative thinking, you cannot basically even understand how the processes or how the things that you do can be basically improved. If you don't think innovatively, you cannot find the diversification. So if you don't find the diversification, then you cannot win the competitive advantage. If you can't win the competitive advantage, you cannot basically win the market and sustain revenue, right? Because competitive advantage is the one that create the USP, unique selling proposition. So which means there where the revenue is generated. So everything now, if you look at the revenue generates, which means in order to generate revenue, you have to sell. Okay, now selling is the main aspect of any company. If you don't sell, right, we can have all management systems, but if you don't sell, the company will die. The selling is the most important thing for the company. I mean, we have to understand that everyone in the company is there to sell. That's it. Even the peon, even the driver, even the clerk, even the accountant, even the accounts clerk is there to sell. Their job is to sell, because they are basically part and parcel of the selling process. So sales is the most important thing. Okay. Then in order to sell, which means you have to create unique selling process as to why my customer buy the product, right? Because if the customer does not decide to buy, then we can't sell. So we have to make sure we influence customers' decision so that he buy. In order to do that influence, you got to have the unique selling process where the customer assess and see as to why I should buy this one instead of buying a competitive product, right? So then only, so USP is basically created through differentiation, which means the customer should understand what is the difference which gives me additional benefit compared to another product, right? Which is the differentiation. So differentiation comes through creativity and innovation, because innovative thinking will basically help to adopt differentiation into your product or a service, right? So if innovation thinking is not functioning, right, differentiation not happen, which means you are not basically creating a USP, which means you are not influencing buyer's decision, which means you are not basically doing your sales, which means you are not basically sustaining your revenue, which means there is no profitability, which means there is no cash flow. So everything basically links to your innovative things. As I told you, innovation, growth, and profitability are the three main components of this cycle or the virtuous cycle. So without innovation, you cannot basically actually work. So innovative, if you don't have innovative thinking, then nothing will basically work.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you so much for that. I know it's a very great presentation, get insight. And however, for benefit of audience who are with us, if you have any concerns or any questions, please share through your WhatsApp group, which we created for this talk of the month. So once you post your questions to WhatsApp group, we shall be able to consult Dr. Nayana Dehigama to get his advice or opinion. So we can do that, just interacting, setting up that bridge between our participants and the doctor. So therefore, I would like to take this opportunity to offer our appreciative gratitude to Dr. Nayana Dehigama for taking part on this particular program called Talk of the Month for month of July, where you have actually set up a really good setup and ideology, how effectively that we can move forward and making certain right decisions to get into the right way of sustaining and managing the current crisis of challenges as well. So we wish you all the very best for your future endeavors, Doctor. Thank you so much. We're really proud of you as well. You're one of the iconic character in the country as well, where you actually pursuing Sri Lanka as a brand overseas as well. Thank you so much. And also at the same time, we would like to thank all the participants as well as for the management of CSBM, well as the CNEC as well. So we wish you all the very best and good night. Have a lovely weekend. Bye from CSBM. Take care, sir. Thank you once again to you, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you very much.